She once was the Barbie doll of the alt-right and white nationalist movement. Then, after a brief step out of the spotlight, she morphed into the right-wing ideal of a traditional conservative woman. But her time at the top of the right-wing influencer charts proved to be short-lived. Now she spends her time crying in the woods, acknowledging one lie after another, and clinging to online relevancy by turning her ugly private life into an embarrassing public spectacle. This is the brutal story of the rise and fall of Lauren Southern. Now, children, before any of you get your undies in a bunch over how mean this video may come across, let me remind you of who we're actually talking about here.
Allow me to introduce you to all the neo-Nazis, white nationalists, and other fashy folks that are directly linked to Lauren Southern. Get comfortable, this isn't a short list.
Alex Jones. 2. Alexander Dugin. 3. Ollie Alexander. 4. American Renaissance. 5. Antipodean Resistance. 6. Baked Alaska. 7. Black Pigeon Speaks. 8. Blair Cottrell. 9. Breitbart News. 10. Brittany Pettibone. 11. Brittany Venti. 12. Carl Benjamin. 13. Christonia.org. 14. Claire Lehman. 15. Colin Flaherty. 16. Count Dankula. Mark Meechan. 17. Countercurrents. 18. Daily Stormer. 19. Dan Root. 20. David Duke. 21. Defend Europa. 22. Dr. Random Cam. 23. Elijah Schaffer. 24. Euro Canadians. 25. Ezra Levant. 26. Faith Goldie. 27. Fraser Annigs. 28. Freedomain Radio. 29. FreeItScam.net. 30. Gavin McInnes and the Proud Boys. 31. Generation Identity. 32. George Hutchison. 33. Gerald Annemans. 34. Harrison Tarrant. 35. HistoryReview.com. 36. Honey Badger Radio. 37. Identitaire Buegang. 38. Identity Australia. 39. Jack Buckby. 40. Jack Murphy. 41. Jack Posawike. 42. Jacob Hersant. 43. James Alsup. 44. James DeLingpole. 45. Jared Taylor. 46. John Derbyshire. 47. John Paul Wright. 48. Jonas Nilsson. 49. Tirup.info. 50. Kyle Chapman. 51. Lad Society. 52. Lana Lockdeff. 53. Lucy Brown. 54. Martin Selder. 55. Mike Cernovich. 56. Millennial Matt. 57. Millennial Woes. 58. Milo Yiannopoulos. 59. Mouthy Buddha. 60. National Front. 61. National Socialist Network. 62. Nationalist George Grant. 63. NationalVanguard.org. 64. Neil Erickson. 65. No BS. 66. Lord Front. 67. OccidentalDescent.com. 68. Oma Navarro. 69. Paul Joseph Watson. 70. ProWhite.net. 71. Radio Albion. 72. Radio Free South Africa. 73. Rebel News. 74. RedEyes.tv. 75. RenegadeTribune.com. 76. Richard Spencer. 77. Bill and Croft. 78. Child and Greenden. 79. Simon Raj. 80. Stefan Molyneux. 81. Steve Hoffmeyer. 82. StormerDaily.rw. 83. Stormfront.org. 84. Stuart Von Moger. 85. Steigsixenhammer 666. 86. Suidlanders. 87. Sidney Watson. 88. Tara McCarthy. 89. The Base. 90. TheDailyKin.blogspot.com. 91. The Occidental Observer. 92. The Realist Report. 93. The Right Stuff. Hosted by James Alsup. 94. Thomas Sewell. 95. Tommy Robinson. 96. Troy Crockett. 97. United Patriot Front. 98. Be Dare. 99. FastOrrington.com. 100. Flom's Belang Party. 101. Boxnews.info.
Whether it was her traveling anti-feminist circus or her promotion of white nationalism, during her meteoric rise in the 2010s, Lauren Southern never shied away from controversy as long as it kept the spotlight on her and fed her insatiable appetite for attention and clout. But then something strange happened. She announced her sudden retirement. But the world's much-needed break from Southern was short-lived. She inevitably found herself again chasing the limelight. But things were different this time. Well, sort of. When she re-emerged from her brief time out of the public eye, she attempted a song and dance she's been trying to master ever since. Ever since coming out of retirement, Southern has thrown every reinvention storyline against the wall, only to discover that once you convince the world you're a white nationalist, it's pretty tough to walk back from that ledge. That's not to say she hasn't been able to enlist some help along the way in her attempts to rehabilitate and soften her image. But with every passing day, more and more people realize that every facet of her carefully crafted public image and the stories she told on her way to the top have been a complete fabrication. And perhaps her biggest fabricated story of all is the one that's brought her a renewed bit of public interest in recent weeks. And that was her elaborate scheme to doctor government forms as an epic troll of a fellow far-right voice. We'll get to that one, and why it wasn't exactly the epic own it first seemed to be, in a moment. Because before she took to social media to brag about the latest story she made up, she had mastered the art of deceitful storytelling. Or at least she almost did.
I've spent the last few months, more like years, living in contradiction. One of the easiest ways to turn your life around, or really anyone's life around, is just not to lie.
Hello. Okay, so you guys probably haven't heard from me in a while, and that's because there has been a lot going on behind the scenes with my work, with my life. It's all just been freaking crazy. And finally, I get to talk to you guys about what's been going on. And you're probably wondering, why is it on your own channel? This is so weird. You've probably seen me everywhere on YouTube except my own channel. I almost never post on here. But that's actually what the news is about. And the news is, I'm going independent. Woo! So, yeah. Rebel and I are going our separate ways.
When they brought me in, I was told that I was being let go. I was being fired from the company.
And then you kind of end with this thing that there is a white genocide coming. And it sounds like what you're saying is that even while you were making that ending scene, that you kind of knew that wasn't true.
Yeah, obviously talking about the genocide at the end, that's a lie. Saying that there is a white genocide coming in South Africa is something that all three of us knew wasn't true. So when we flew to Toronto to film Lauren, talking and doing the final summary, we had all known that at that point, and it's just very, very, very frustrating. And I wish the people watching it wouldn't be, I don't know, I wish they hadn't watched it. And to sort of use the tactics that were involved to sort of place it as a black against white issue is disingenuous. There are so many parts of it that are disingenuous and so many parts that are one-sided, far more than any kind of left-wing media, bias that has ever existed, that make it impossible to be proud of. She just said that she heard all this stuff from like rumors and from kind of friends more on the fringes of the far right, the kind of Richard Spencer types that we were kind of talking to at the time, that South Africa was heating up or something bad was happening there. Because the only people that were talking about South Africa at that time were extremely fringe people, like Richard Spencer, like the American Renaissance, Jared Taylor, those kind of really kind of fringe neo-Nazi types.
One of the women that Lauren used in her so-called documentary Farmlands and in her promotion of the film was a woman named Janine. Janine said something very interesting recently in an interview, though. She said that she, quote, felt exploited by Southern, explaining that she, quote, was interviewed under false pretenses, and that, quote, another farmer phoned me to say he's got this Canadian chickie doing a documentary about the drought, when suddenly Lauren sat her down and said, tell me about your dad, which, quote, completely caught her off guard. Additionally, Lauren bemoans the use of deceptive editing practices when she's the subject, yet she uses deceptive editing tactics and manipulative storytelling techniques as much as just about anyone. As noted by an astute writer at Busting the Myth of White Genocide in South Africa, not only did Lauren lie her way to an interview with a grieving woman named Janine, but because of what Lauren heard from Janine, because it didn't jive with the myth of white genocide in South Africa, she decided instead to trick her audience into hearing what she wanted them to hear. In her video, where she proves that South Africa is facing a government-implicit race war, the biggest omission from this whole interview was the fact that the killer not only killed white farmer Shock Featherstone, but also a person of color 5 days prior. And we saw evidence that Lauren knew about this second murder, but chose to gloss over it. In the full film, Lauren took out a crucial snippet of footage that actually was in the standalone Janine's story clip on YouTube. At the 4-minute, 3-second mark, Janine mentions, quote, "He's killed 2 people and he's destroyed 2 families."
He's killed 2 people. He's destroyed 2 families. And he got 15 years.
He's killed 2 people and he's destroyed 2 families. And then you'll notice that Lauren quickly cuts away for some reason.
He's killed 2 people. He's destroyed 2 families. And he got 15 years.
Nothing further is mentioned or asked about the second murder. Now, it makes sense for Janine to want focus on her father's story, but she did mention the second victim, and we really don't think that Lauren was such a mediocre interviewer and quote, journalist, that she had no follow-up questions about a second murder. What seems far more likely here is that she omitted those details on purpose so that she could lie about the reason Featherstone was murdered and make it seem political.
The project I spent the most money on, which was very humanizing of migrants, but the thing is, none of my critics watch it.
Once again, Lauren isn't being honest here when she implies that the very humanizing view of migrants and borderless was her doing. The truth is, this little glimmer of decency that Lauren is trying to claim as her own doing was actually the work of her former cameraman and producer, Kaylin Robertson. Once again, demonstrating Lauren's loose relationship with the truth. The moments in the film most humanizing of migrants weren't Lauren's doing at all. In fact, Borderless ends with several interviews of migrants who made it safely to Europe. Not only were these interviews Kaylan's idea, and not only did he feel so strongly about including them in the final film, that he booked a solo flight to Ireland to film the whole thing by himself, but Lauren didn't even want those interviews included in her film. Thankfully, it seems that Lauren caved to the insistence of Kaylan, thus resulting in the only truly humanizing moments in this propaganda.
And settled under the overpass. The migrants graciously made room for us closer to their fire. "Hi, I'm Alex," Southern introduced herself, using one of her stage names.
You got my audio? Yeah, I can see it there. Cool. I'm Alex.
She started to pass out chocolate and cigarettes.
Church, though, because ultimately, after donating to Martin Sellner, the Identitarian Movement, Stefan Molyneux, and Lauren's former employer Rebel News, and after being targeted for recruitment by Lauren Southern's Australian neo-Nazi security force, Tarrant released a manifesto online, which happened to share the exact same name as Lauren's now deleted The Great Replacement video, before he then went on to murder 51 innocent people. I can also report, I think for the first time, that this rare instance of Lauren seemingly doing something sensible and respectable by deleting that Great Replacement video isn't what it seems. Because it turns out it was actually Lauren's former associate Kaylin Robertson, who, after seeing the carnage of Christchurch unfold, was actually the one who deleted the video, and he did so without telling Lauren he intended to do that. And according to him, at this, Lauren was utterly outraged. It's unsurprising then that just 4 days later, after this massacre, she would continue to push the Great Replacement theory.
This is also as good of a time as any to report the real reasons Lauren Southern briefly retired after the release of Borderless. According to Kaylin Robertson, the 2 biggest reasons why Lauren retired in 2019 was because, number 1, heat she was getting, rightly so, after the Christchurch massacre for promoting the Great Replacement theory. Number 2, the infamous story written about Lauren by her one-time hero, Milo. This is noteworthy because Lauren has explained her reasons for retiring in 2019 many times, but she has never indicated that the fallout over the role she may have played in the Christchurch massacre or Milo's article had anything to do with it. If this is true, not only is it another instance of Lauren playing fast and loose with the truth, but it also represents another instance of Lauren Southern, all with a smile on her face, brazenly lying directly to her fans, journalists, the general public, and, potentially, to Australian and Canadian authorities when Southern obtained the necessary documentation to officially move from Canada to Australia.
What kind of unstable narcissist splashes the details of their wedding and separation all over the internet? Part of me still would rather not talk about any of this. I have clearly avoided it for 2 years, but for better or for worse, I am a public figure, and if I take my ring off, as I should have a long while ago, people are gonna have questions.
Which brings us to today, where Lauren's idyllic traditional conservative life has, in a blink of an eye, revealed it to be more perfectly suited for an episode of Jerry Springer than a Disney fairy tale. If you haven't followed this story, here's the gist of it. Rumors have been floating around for over a year now that Lauren Southern had an extramarital affair with liberal streamer Destiny. And not only that, but that the two had a secret child as a result of their affair. Then, an influential right-wing creator named Rollo Tomassi began an obsessive public campaign to expose the affair and the alleged child between Southern and Destiny. Tomassi claimed to be in direct contact with Southern's ex-husband and had obtained a medical document showing that Southern did in fact have a child with Destiny. But it turns out it was a ruse. Apparently, the medical document that Tomassi was given was a part of an elaborate trolling effort spearheaded by Southern, as well as two fringe right-wingers and Destiny. The idea was to discredit the story that Destiny and Southern had a secret baby, and to discredit Tomassi as a gullible idiot. And the stunt seemed to work for the most part, but there were some oversights in the approach. It did make Tomassi look like a gullible fool, and it did discredit the receipts that Tomassi believed he was in possession of to prove of this mystery love child. But it didn't actually prove or disprove anything except that Tomassi fell for the gag and that the alleged receipts were fake. But as some Twitter users noted, it doesn't disprove the widely accepted idea that Southern and Destiny had an affair while Southern was broadcasting to the world that she was still living the traditional conservative lifestyle as a married woman and traditional conservative mother. This is what I don't understand. Even if they did forge documents and emails, all you're saying is that you forged these documents and email. She's not disproving the allegations against her infidelity to her husband, by her husband. This is the most bizarre Hail Mary ever, and that's where things stand now. The one-time Wonder Woman of the far right has now turned her life into a Jerry Springer episode while she desperately searches for a fresh clique of gullible and celibate men to grift off of. What do you think? Will Southern rise again? Will she ever express regret about the racism and bigotry she has promoted over the years? Will she ever, or could she even, take responsibility for her ugly political past? Or will she continue to get away with gesturing at the idea that she has changed and moderated politically when all she has done is change and moderate her presentation style? Let me know your thoughts in the comments. And make sure to subscribe so you don't miss our next video in this series, where we look at the rise and fall of a deranged Christmas ham known as Alex Jones. Until then, leave a like and promptly get off my damn lawn.